Gamers, we are once again getting a new selection pack in Master Duel, and I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about it. Alright, let's start with Silhouette Rabbit. Why is this card good? Well, basically because it sets a continuous trap card from your deck that can be space summoned as a monster, and if a card space summoned from the spare trap card zone to the monster zone, you can target one spare or trap card your opponent controls, destroy it. Essentially, you will set Angel Statue as a rune, and then you're gonna activate it, special, pop a spare or trap card, and that's gonna be a pretty useful scenario for you. As you can see, Silhouette Rabbit can be summoned with just two generic monsters, doesn't matter what they are, so that's gonna be a pretty useful card overall. Moving on, we have the Diabel, the original Sin Keeper, that has a couple of nasty effects. Number one, it's free special summon if a simple spells card is in either player's graveyard, meaning that it's still good in the mirror matchup, but also your opponent must set spells and trap cards before activating them, and if they set something, you can target one card you control and one card your opponent controls and destroy them, meaning you can get rid of a spell or trap card before they can even use it. Pair that with Silhouette Rabbit, by the way, you can activate the Angel Statue, pop one card, then when they set another card, you can pop it with this thing, meaning that your opponent is already gonna be -2 if they play a bunch of spell cards. That's ridiculously powerful. No need to explain why. It's gonna be a pretty nasty card. Now, moving on, we have the first archetype, Gimmick Puppet. A lot of people might have mixed opinions about this archetype. I truly liked it before it started being an FTK deck, so yeah, that's about it. I think that this is gonna be a pretty nice deck that you can play. I don't know what tier it will be, maybe like a rogue tier 3 or something like that. I am personally not a big fan of it, but I'm gonna go over the cards and explain everything and what it does. Essentially, if this card space summon, you can add one puppet trap from your deck to your hand. You can attach one material from this card, space summon one monster from either graveyard to your opponent's field, and if a monster is space summoned to your opponent's field, you can target one of them, destroy it, and if you do inflict damage to the opponent, you go to half of its original attack. The goal of which is to just burn your opponent as much as it can. Also, we have the Gimmick Puppet, fantastic mechanics, which is basically the first version of this guy. This is the CXC's version. You can attach one material from this card, add one rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand. Also, during your main phase this turn, you can normal summon one machine monster in addition to your normal summon set. And the other effect, if you space summon the Gimmick Puppet Exceeds monster, you can space summon this card from your graveyard, and then you can add one rank up magic. So essentially, you're gonna be playing a particular rank up magic. In the face of the rank up magic, Argent Chaos Force, this card is used to basically exceed summon into the CXC's version of it, and being able to search that is actually extremely useful for the deck, and this card actually sees some play now because of that. Before that, nobody really cared about it, even though it's in the game for a while now. Also, moving on, we have for the main deck, Gimmick Puppet Rogue though. If this card in your hand, you can reveal one Gimmick Puppet Exceeds monster in your extra deck, space summon both this card and one Gimmick Puppet monster with the same level as the revealed monster's rank from your deck. So it's space summons from deck and it space summons itself, meaning 2 extenders already, which is crazy. If this card came to the graveyard, you can add it back to the hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. You cannot space summon for the extra deck from the rest of the turn except Gimmick Puppets, but Gimmick Puppet essentially plays only Gimmick Puppet cards, so that doesn't matter. Now we have the Little Soldiers. If this card normal space summon, you can send one Gimmick Puppet monster with a different level, then this card from your deck to the graveyard, and this card becomes the same level. Essentially, you're gonna go for an extender and go from there. Also, you can ban this card from the graveyard, target up to 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters you control, increase their levels by 4, meaning that if you do have 2 level 4s, you just make them 2 level 8s and you just exceed summon again. Also, you have the Gimmick Puppet Kato Scream. You can attach one material from an exceed monster you control, space summon this card from your hand or graveyard, and yeah, and if you do banish it afterwards, you can only use this effect once per turn, which is cool. A Gimmick Puppet Exceed monster has an additional effect while this card is as a material. Once per turn, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to their field, so that basically allows you to burn a little more. These are all basically ways to exceed summon into rank 8. That's pretty much what it does. And now we have Mansion of the Dreadful Doll. So when this card is activated, you can add one Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to your hand. So keep in mind, this is already a searcher. Then Gimmick Puppet monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, they're unaffected by your opponent's activated non-exceed monster effect, so unaffected protection. And then once per turn, you can attach one material from an exceed monster you control, target one Gimmick Puppet and special summon it. So this thing is a searcher, is an extender, and a crazy good protection. Dude, this is just insanely powerful, and that's why the deck is even that good, because this card is an absolute monstrosity. But enough Gimmick Puppets, let's move on to something a little more interesting. We have the new Trickstar support. If this card is league summon, you can add one blue tier card from your deck to your hand. Also, if you have a fusion monster on the field or in the graveyard, you can target one Trickstar monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if either player takes damage, you can target one face-up card on the field and destroy it. So this is an absolute beauty of a card. This card is going to be super useful for the deck. Now, when we look at blue tiers cards, let's just see what is going to come up here. So we talk about that thing. We have Angel of Blue Tears. You can just search that thing, of course. And also we have Maiden of Blue Tears. If the card comes out, now I don't know if it will come out immediately with the pack, we'll see. But either way, you can just go for Angel of Blue Tears and it's still super strong. Now what I like about this card, the fact that it's a searcher, a monster reborn, and also has an effect that pops face-up card on the field whenever your opponent takes damage, effect damage basically, which is what Trickstar do. Now also we have the Bandrumatist, which is the fusion monster, and it's summonable with the trap card that we're gonna talk about in a little bit. Your Trickstar Link monster that point to this card gain 1000 attack, which is not a bad effect. If this card fusion summon, you can add one Trickstar card from your deck to your hand with a different name, which is essentially again a searcher, which is super strong. And also if either player takes any effect damage, you can reduce a monster's attack to 0, which is not that big of a deal, but the searcher is pretty good. And now we have another way to fusion summon with the diffusion and also to link summon. So Trickstar Diffusion allows you to fusion summon by banishing materials from the graveyard or link summon. So this is really useful to get access to a link monster basically. Also you can banish card from the graveyard and target one Trickstar monster, and now your opponent can attack only that monster, right? So you can kind of, you know, protect certain things if you'd like a little bit. But what I like about this is of course one of the two first effects because they're just super strong. And also we have the Trickstar Aqua Angel, which is the first monster from the main deck, and it's also treated as a Marinces card. So this is a Marinces support as well. Link monster, this card points you cannot be destroyed by battle, meaning that if you summon this and so you basically target a link monster with the diffusion, you can make it indestructible by battle and also protect it from being able to attack anything else. So you're essentially protecting your whole field just by making something indestructible by battle, and until they destroy the Aqua Angel, this can be pretty useful. Also if you control a Trickstar or Marinces monster, it's a free special summon, but you can only use these effects once per duel. Also if this card sent to the graveyard as a material, you can look at your opponent's hand and all face down cards they control, which is a little gimmicky of an effect. It's pretty much like I just wrote it on a piece of paper, but it's also a fun effect, I guess. Of course it is mostly used as an extender and as a protection, and it's probably gonna be like a one-off in the build. Also we have the Trickstar Hoodie, which is not a Marinces card, just a Trickstar. If you control a Trickstar Fusion or Link, you can special summon this card from hand, which is nice. If this card sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Trickstar monster, you can add one Trickstar Fusion or Diffusion. So that's the way you get access to the trap card or the fusion. I would say Diffusion is probably gonna be better simply because it's a little more useful, but I guess if you're going second or if you want to just fusion summon into this on your turn, you can kind of do that as well. And for the link monsters, we have a new Link 1 Kochika. This card requires one non-link Trickstar monster, and when a monster is destroyed by battle involving a Trickstar monster, this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, target one of those destroyed monsters if take damage to the opponent equal to the attack that it had on the field. I guess you can just link summon into this, link summon into the other Link 1, then potentially go into the other new Link 2, and then you can use the effect of the Link 1 that this has, you know, in the graveyard to just deal some additional damage, I guess. Overall, the archetype now, what I like about it is the fact that it does more than just burn, 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 alright? So it has some removal effects, it has a lot more searches, it can get access to some of the fusion spells and trap cards. Honestly, I'm a fan of it. Now moving on, let's talk about the most interesting archetype for me, the White Forest archetype. Now this is a really flexible archetype. You can play a lot of Vengeance with it, you can play Runic, you can play Toy Box, you can figure out different ways. So let's go over everything and see why this archetype is so good. First of all, we have the Abel, Queen of the White Forest. This card synchro summon using a tuner synchro monster. You can target one spell trap card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. This is really useful because all of the other ones are synchro tuners, so it's really easy to do that. Also, you can recycle something for a Runic card, or you can recycle whatever else you like. You know, any of the White Forest cards are also useful to recycle. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send one spell or trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Best summon one level 7 or lower tuner synchro monster from your extra deck, graveyard, or banishment, and one of the targets is gonna be Silvera. By the way, this doesn't mention White Forest synchro tuner, so you can summon whatever you'd like, but Silvera is the archetypal version of what you're gonna summon. This is essentially a Book of Eclipse for the deck. It has an effect that if this card space summon, you can change all face-up monsters your opponent controls to face down, and also Illusion and Spellcaster synchro monsters you control gain 500 attack. Also, if they attack a defense position monster, inflict double the piercing damage. So if you manage to stop your opponent's plays before they get into something crazy, you can kind of deal a lot of damage with these things. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool card overall. And also we have the Raziel, Sinister Soul of the White Forest. If this card space summon, you can send one spell or trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard, add one White Forest card or one light spellcaster monster from your deck to your hand. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty much useful a lot. And also Illusion and Spellcaster synchro monsters you control gain 500 attack. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, so it's a nice little protection and a boost. And now let's move on to the main deck monsters. We have first of all Rusia of the White Forest. This card first of all allows you to space summon it if you control a White Forest monster. Also, you can send one spell or trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard to draw an extra card. This can enable a bunch of archetypes, of course, primarily the Toy Box engine. Also, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one White Forest synchro monster you control or in the graveyard, return it to the extra deck and space summon this card to the field, meaning that you can recycle something like Silvera, which you can use again to resummon and then flip something else face down or do other things with that. It's up to you what you want to do, but it's really useful. And this is not the only card that has that effect, by the way. We also have Sylvia of the White Forest, which is a searcher for spells or trap cards when it's normal summon, and it has the same secondary effect as the Rusia. And also we have Astelar of the White Forest. You can send one spell or trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard, space summon one light spellcaster tuner from your deck, which is extremely useful useful. You can do a lot of cool things with that. Also, if a spell or trap card is sent to the graveyard to activate the monster effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can re-special summon it so you can reuse it during the same turn as well, which is super useful. And for the last main deck monster, we have Elzette of the White Forest. You can send one spell or trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon this card, and then search a White Forest monster, which is super strong. And also, during your opponent's turn, if a light spellcaster or tuner is space summoned to your field, you can return this card to the hand. So it has two very strong effects, and this is obviously a definitive trio for the build. Now, as of the spells and traps, we have the Tales of the White Forest. If you control an illusion or spellcaster monster, add one White Forest monster from your deck to your hand, which is a searcher. And if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate the monster effect, you can set this card again to the field, which is not a bad recyclable effect. Also, we have this Scourge of the White Forest. This is not that useful. You don't need to play it necessarily. Tribute one synchro monster, target one face-up monster on the field, negates its effects. Then, if you tribute a White Forest synchro monster, you can special summon one illusion monster from your graveyard. So if you play any illusion monsters, you can try to make this work. However, it isn't necessary to play, of course. And then we have Beware of the White Forest, which is the final spell card that I think we might be getting, but it's only in OCG now, so I don't know if we're going to be getting that. If you control level 6 or higher illusion or spellcaster, target one card your opponent controls and destroy it, and then you can basically reset this card to the field if it's sent to the graveyard again. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if we're gonna get this because it's only available in OCG, but who knows. Also, we have the Walls of the White Forest, which is the trap card. Special summon one White Forest monster from your hand or deck, then immediately after this effect resolve, synchro summon a White Forest monster, which is extremely strong, and then you can reset it back to the field if it's sent to the graveyard as well. And now, one thing I want to talk about, there is a new White Forest support that will come out eventually, but I'm not sure if it's gonna come out in Master Duel yet, so I'm not gonna cover it. We'll see if that will happen, but this is pretty much the archetype. It's a pretty good archetype. I really like it, and this is by far my favorite archetype for this pack. I think it's gonna be a really strong archetype. It's also really flexible. What I like about this is you can experiment with the deck a little bit and try out different things. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the new cards. Now, should you pull on this pack? I'd say yes. You have a nice little rogue deck that can be played every now and then. Gimmick Puppets are a little bit of an FTK deck, but you know, they're still kind of good. Also, we have the White Forest cards, which are really strong. Trust me, you're gonna enjoy playing this deck because it's just so versatile and interesting. Also, we have Trickstar support, which seems pretty good now, so I would say it's gonna be a pretty nice deck. Also, we have the Silhouette Rabbit, which is a generically good monster, and we have the Diabels, which is gonna come up. It's gonna be useful. It's gonna be played together with Silhouette Rabbit. It's gonna be ridiculously strong in my opinion. So yeah, let me know what you think about the new pack in the comments below. Like and subscribe will be greatly appreciated and really helpful. Also, check out more Master Duel content, of course, in the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.